Navigating the Digital Jungle with Sue Atkins and Friends.
Welcome to another episode of Navigating the Digital Jungle with Sue Atkins and Friends. I'm your host, Sue Atkins, parenting author and broadcaster, and I'm delighted to be here today with my friends, Angeline Corvaglia, creator of Data Girl and Friends, empowering young minds with online safety and AI literacy videos, games and educational materials, and Tara Jones, an experienced deputy head and EdTech consultant working with families and schools around tools and interventions for healthier, more purposeful phone use. So the topic this week is a biggie: understanding AI. Now, today we're going to dive into a crucial topic for every modern parent: artificial intelligence and how it impacts our families, our children, and our society, really. And to guide us through that, we have insights from Bill Schmarzo, also known as the Dean of Big Data. Now, as we all know, we're all here together to help you navigate the AI digital jungle with confidence, because artificial intelligence, like all technology advancements before it, is changing our world. Now, what's different, perhaps, is the speed of this change. As AI rapidly evolves, our way of life is affected in ways that we hadn't really considered. I mean, will AI take our jobs, teach our kids, infringe upon our own very humanity? And for some people, of course, it might feel quite scary because it feels a bit like an acceleration towards Terminator-style doomsday scenarios. Because, as we know, artificial intelligence is in our homes, in our phones, in our schools, in our workplaces. So what does that even mean? And this week, I came across a Radio 4 program called The Artificial Human with social psychologist Alex Grotsky and Dr. Kevin Fong. And they set out to solve AI by answering some pressing questions like, how is AI affecting our children's ability to learn? So we're going to put that into the show notes, and you can go off and listen to that episode as it will guide you through there. So this leads me on today to our fantastic guest, Bill Schmarzo. Bill is regarded as one of the top digital transformation influencers on big data, data science, design thinking, data monetization and data economics, and is currently part of Dell's Technology Core Data Management Leadership Team. He was selected for Hitachi Solution Innovative Award for his groundbreaking work in data science and automated machine learning. He's also the author of AI and Data Literacy, Empowering Citizens of Data Science, and Big Data, Understanding How Data Powers Big Business. So his insights and guidance are going to be highly valued today. So it's a great honor to have you here joining us today and giving up your time, Bill. Thanks very much indeed.
Thank you, Sue, for having me. I'm looking forward to these conversations. I love not knowing where we're going to go because life's about a journey, right? Sometimes you end up in places you didn't expect because the journey was so great. So I'm looking forward to our journey today.
Excellent. So let's carry on and let's ask you a few questions, if that's all right. AI is everywhere, and it's more integrated into our daily lives than many of us actually realize. And it helps in, personalizing learning experiences. It makes healthcare more accessible, and it even, of course, enhances our safety. But there are dangers with these advancements because everything is happening so quickly and parents are worried. They feel a bit left behind. So let's start with the basics, Bill. What is AI? Can you give it to us in simple terms?
Yeah, I'm going to explain it by describing a game that I think we all played as children. It's a game called Hotter and Colder. It's kind of like the game Marco Polo, and you play in the pool, right? And in Hotter and Colder, you put something somewhere, and then you direct somebody to try to find them by saying you're getting hotter. No, now you're getting colder. Now you're getting colder. Now you're getting hotter. Kind of like the game of Marco Polo in the pool, right? Marco Polo. And you're trying to figure out where this person is. That's all AI does. It tries to figure out how to achieve the desired outcomes that you define, not AI defines, but you define. So what it is you're trying to achieve? What are your desired outcomes? What are the KPIs and metrics against which we're going to measure how close we are getting to that? And then it simply plays hotter and colder, with the only exception being that the prize or the goal is constantly changing because the world is constantly changing. So first off, AI is like playing the game of hotter and colder. Number two, AI will only do what we train it to do. It's not an entity. It's not going to make up its own mind. We train it, and we train it by telling it what are the KPIs and metrics around which we're trying to achieve a desired outcome. So AI has to start by trying to understand, what is you trying to accomplish? If you're driving a car, you're trying to get from location A to location B as safely, as economically as possible, right? And there's other variables there, right? So you have to define what it is you're trying to achieve, what your desired outcomes are, and then how you're going to measure that effectiveness, and then train the model on that. And that's all it is. It's really bone simple.
Well, you make it sound simple, and thank you for making it sound, oh, how interesting. It's like the game of hot and cold. But can you tell us a bit more about the impact of AI on children? Can you talk about how it affects our children? From educational apps to social media, algorithms, it's shaping their experiences in significant ways. What are your thoughts on that?
I think much like everything in life, it starts with awareness. And it has to start with awareness with the parents.
Yes.
If the parents aren't aware of how their data is being captured everywhere, how the data has this level of permanence, right? If you post something, it's going to be there forever. That's the new world. Thank God it didn't happen when I was in college, because I said and did stupid things in college and no one's ever going to know about it except for me and some of my close friends, right? And the third thing is persuasion. So awareness that everything that you do, everything that you say, everywhere you go with cameras, with your smartphone, with your games, everything you do is being captured and recorded. Your life is basically a digital recording. They're capturing everything you do, right? So that's number one. Number two is realizing these organizations are taking this data and trying to predict your behaviors and your performance, or basically behaviors. What is it you're going to do? What is it you like? Because number three, they want to persuade you. They want to persuade you to take action, to buy something, to believe in a certain way. And so it starts by understanding this awareness your data is being captured constantly. It has permanence, that whatever you say is going to be used against you. And three, the world's about persuasion. People want you to do something. And one of the exercises I do, and just really simple exercise or a conversation I have with my high school students, is that to realize that everything that appears on your social media feed was determined by an AI model. Some AI model said you're most likely to be interested in this. And to stop and think about, why did it show me that? What about what I've done or said in the past makes it think that that's important to me? And so this idea of a realization, this awareness of your data is being captured, it's got long time permanence, and it's being used to persuade you. So stop to think and take control. Am I going to believe what they show me? They're showing me something. I don't believe in this. I mean, if I can put a thumbs down on it, I'm going to put a thumbs down on it. But you have to learn to basically then practice, I guess the fourth phase here is critical thinking, right? To make certain that you're looking at that, what's being fed to you, you're thinking about it rationally, you're asking about the rationale behind why that thing was shown to you. You're always asking about sources. You got to be dubious. More than ever in our life, as parents, we need to be dubious. And I think parents kind of naturally are, but children aren't wired that way.
No.
Children are wired to learn and engage, and they reach out to all kinds of things. They reach out to the mean dog, they reach out to the cat that's snarling at them, right? They reach out. So we have as parents to be aware and make sure that we're teaching our children critical thinking. So sorry, really, really long answer.
No, it's a brilliant answer, because that's the thing that parents have got to think about too. You've got to pause to ponder. I have an exercise when I'm working with parents, and I say it's like picking up your remote control on your TV. Pause to ponder. Press pause, take a step back, and just think. Now, if they even just do that, actually, but if parents do it, they've got to then feel confident in passing that kind of thinking onto their kids. And that leads me on to then what can parents do to educate themselves to feel a bit more confident? Because a lot of parents want to do things and protect their kids, but they're unsure and they don't know where to go to get sort of information. What do you reckon? Where can they go to find some good stuff?
Well, you got to invest time. Ange's work on Data Girl. I think that work I think it's phenomenal. It's some of the best stuff I've seen anywhere on the internet. What Ange has done, I think, has done a marvelous job of taking complex topics and being the voice of either a parent of a child, of a girl, right? And she's put it in a way that's engaging and understandable both by parents and children. It's some of the absolute best stuff out there. So people need to invest time because there's a wealth of information out there.
Yeah.
You got to spend time. You got to learn about it. And every parent, especially in today's age, also needs to practice critical thinking. I have friends who are on the fringes of the political life, and they're friends of mine. So it's really hard when they've got some kind of a wacky theory on one end or the other. And I ask, well, what's the source of that? What was that? Why was that person sharing that information with you? What is their rationale? What are they trying to do? What are they trying to persuade you to do? So again, practice those behaviors as a parent and show that as a children, because children will copy what you do.
You got to jump in there.
I have to jump in and say thank you. Yeah. That is probably the best compliment I ever got, because Bill knows it's my complete passion. It's a passion project. And to hear from such an expert, I knew that you appreciated it, but I never heard it said such a beautiful way. And it all actually comes from my own awareness, right? I mean, I always say I'm not an AI expert because a lot of people say they're AI experts. So I don't want to say that I'm one, because I'm just an impassioned parent who is just following your advice to just pay attention. And my daughter is paying attention. She started throwing my words back at me when I tell her to be aware, which is good. Yesterday, she said, I wanted to take a walk and you wanted to watch the last 10 minutes of your show. I said, okay.
What was it a good show? What are you watching? Maybe there was a good reason.
I don't ever sit down and watch shows, actually. No, but and she was playing a game yesterday. We flew over from Europe to the US and she was playing Angry Birds. I never let her play games, but she was playing it on the little tablet thing. And I said, did you notice how engaging it was and you couldn't step back from it? She's like, yeah, that has a lot to do with AI, doesn't it? And I was like, yes.
Yes. Oh, excellent.
I love it.
No, because as you were saying actually a minute ago, I could just, because I'm visual, I could just see a poster up that I'm going to get designed up or something, and we'll have to share it on social media. And parents could put it up in the kitchen or wherever their kids are and go, what are they persuading you to do? Because if you just even think of that, suddenly you're in a critical thinking sort of mindset.
What you've done by saying that is you've taken control of the narrative. That's it. Instead of somebody telling you and directing you a certain way, we are putting parents and putting children in control of their own destiny, right? We're empowering them. We don't want victims. We have too many people in this world who are playing the victim card. No, not acceptable, especially with AI, because AI will run over us, right? AI, even after you train it, will make decisions millions of times faster than we as humans can make, right? So we have to be vigilant and make certain that we are taking control by ensuring that as we build out these AI models and the AI utility function, which is the beating heart of these things, that everybody understands their roles, their responsibilities, and their expectations. What's your role? Your role is to make certain that your voice is heard in the variables and metrics around which that model is being trained. You have a role to play. You have a right to make certain that you're inclusive of others. If this person's voice isn't being heard for whatever reason, you need to make certain that their voice is heard, because as humans, we are stronger through diversity and we innovate through conflict. So bring those in. And then the expectation, right? The expectation is that you have a right and to expect that anytime something is shown to you or a decision is made, the expectation to understand Why was that decision made about me? And what were the variables and metrics and the associated weights that made that decision? So if I was declined a loan, or was it admitted to a university somewhere, I have a right and a responsibility and an expectation to know why that happened.
Yeah, I think, that's important. If I can, because I'm not sure how many parents who are listening are aware how many decisions, especially in the critical phases of their children's development, are actually made by AI in the meantime. I know, obviously, there's great work about the AI hiring bias from Heike Schielemann.
Yeah.
You also talk about that a lot in your work. A lot of decisions where minorities are just being kind of left out because the AI just doesn't know about them, right? That awareness is so important.
Yeah, and it's also in images as well. If you just put in, an image, it will come out sort of not diverse enough. It'll be a sort of a blonde, white, young woman. And so all of these things we've really got to sort of think about.
So this is the power of AI. Now, traditional machine learning models, they make predictions based on what the historical data has told them. And so by definition, you're going to make decisions that reflect the biases of the past. And there's all kinds of threats. There's confirmation bias. There's unintended consequences. And for a lot of organizations, there's a deconstruction of your total addressable market. You're not talking to new customers about new products. You're talking to the same people over and over again. And so eventually your market starts to shrink. There's an economic impact for why that's bad. AI is different. Because of the AI utility function, we have a chance to define AI models by what our aspirations are. Not on what our data has told us in the past, but what is it we want to be as an organization? What are our outcomes? What are our charters? How are we going to measure that? And I can actually take and build a utility function that helps me to drive to where I want to be. Do I care about environmentalism? Do I care about diversity? Do I care about community? So I do lots of workshops with customers, with banks, with healthcare concerns, with manufacturers. And one of the things, for example, one of the things I always say is you need to think about the impact you're having on your local community. Where in your model development, when you're optimizing decisions around manufacturing and inventory and hiring and such, how does your local community impact that? Because you, by the fact you reside in that community, have an impact on that community. And you should want to figure out, how do I support and grow my local community? So again, we can put community factors into our model. We can put diversity, environmental, ethical. We can put ethical members in it too. You can codify it. I wrote a blog that said, I believe God is an economist, because everything that's in the Bible is an economic lesson. Right? God's about leading indicators, not lagging indicators. They get real bizarre, but weird here. So we have a chance with AI to not just make decisions on what we've done in the past, but to make decisions and optimize on what it is we want to become as a society, as an organization, as people.
Bill, I want to bring you back because I'm very mindful that my podcast is for families, parents, teachers, children. So I want to bring you back to young children. Parents listen to this with younger children. Then they've got children who are getting more and more confident in this area. Then they're going into teenage years and schools. Bring it back and tell us more about, for parents, when they're listening to all of this, how we can help them today.
One of the things around Gen AI, there's a lot of, the Chat GPT conversation is a really charged one. Do I let my child use Chat GPT? And there's a lot of universities are saying, we're not using Chat GPT. So I'll tell you, in my university class, I mandate it.
Okay.
I mandate that you use Chat GPT. How are you ever going to learn to take control of AI if you're not working with it? I mean, our goal in life,
that's unusual,
is to make AI work for us.
Right.
But I like to tell my students, make AI your bitch. Right? Make it work for you. Right? And so what I would encourage all parents to do is to get your children to use the Chat GPTs and such, but do it in a supervised manner. Learn with them.
That's the secret, isn't it? But isn't that the word? Supervised. All of this, when we're talking about young children or toddlers or anything like that, with anything to do with screens at all, but certainly what you're saying with AI is embrace it. Don't run away from it. Take it on.
Especially collaboratively, not only supervised, but collaborative, learn together. And I'd also recommend that you become Socrates. Then we're going to go really old school, right? the Socratic method of asking the 6 questions about, questions for clarifications, questions about assumptions, questions about rationale, questions about the question itself, right? Socrates taught way back in the days, even before I was around. He's old even compared to me, right? He taught his students how to ask insightful questions. We need to do the same thing. If I ask a question, what movie should I go see this weekend? And he gives me a recommendation, you should say, well, what's your rationale for that? Are there other movies that I should be considering? Here's my areas of interest. Tell me what movies I should watch. Hey, I want to be like this. You have this conversation where you're directing the Chat GPT or Gen AI tool to work for you. You're not taking its first answer. You're pushing it. You're saying, what risks do I have? What are my sources, right? And what's all these things about, and that's where parents can play a role, right? Is why I said supervise is important, but collaborative. Sit down with your youngster and, hey, we're going to go out to eat tonight. Let's use Chat GPT to help us figure out where we're going to go eat. And you type in, well, I'm kind of hungry for this and that. These kind of things we're looking for. What do you recommend? And it comes back with these and so as a parent and a child, you can collaborate and you can turn what I call the Chat GPT is into your Yoda. Got my Yoda kind of sitting back here if you can see it. Yoda, your own digital assistant. So it works for me. It's my research assistant. And I love my research assistant because I can ask it all kinds of questions, even stupid questions, right? It never gets tired. It always gives me an answer. It doesn't tell me my question is stupid, right? And so I make it work for me. It is my Yoda.
Yeah. So I've said a few times about this group of mothers in Nigeria that I was doing workshops with about what is AI for their children. And just to expand on what you said, Bill, I always tell them you need to understand that when the children are working with AI, there's much less data about the society in Nigeria than there is about the society in America, for example. And if what you as parents need to understand and you need to pass on to your children who are probably too young to understand this, is that if you rely on it too much, then you will take over someone else's mindset and someone else's views. And this is from my point, an important added value that parents can bring, because children are just finding their place in the world and understanding who they are. And if you get these answers from AI, like, as you say, what movie should I watch? What should I eat? It's probably not going to recommend a typical dish from your region. It will recommend the vegetables and meat that they eat in the United States, probably. And that's so important to know and work with, right?
And Angie, you hit a really key point. This concept called prompt engineering, which is a fancy way of saying, typing in your request, requires you to think about and frame carefully the question you're asking. So in Nigeria, you say, well, I live in Nigeria. This is something about me. This is what I like. This is what I don't like. What do you recommend, right? AI is not very smart. It's not really very smart. So I don't frame it. It won't give me a relevant answer. And so it really, I think that we've talked with Angie in the past about, I think AI is going to actually make us more human. Because
Oh, hold on. That's really unusual. I have heard so many people saying the opposite. Please say that again and tell me why.
So there's a couple aspects. First off, I think we're going to learn how to ask questions again, how to collaborate, right? Because it's not like search. It's about framing what it is I'm trying to do, my desired outcomes, right? What's important to me, my variables and metrics, right? My features, right? Blah, blah, blah. And then having that conversation so it comes back with an answer that's relevant to me. So if I'm in Nigeria, I need to frame it. Okay, I'm in Nigeria, right? I don't care about the rest of the world. I care about what I can do here. So number one, I think it's going to teach us the power of asking questions. We're going to go old school or we become like Socrates. He had less hair than me, which is good. But here's the other thing I think is really interesting here, Sue, is that what AI is great at is optimizing standard activities. What humans are great at is curiosity, exploration, innovation, creativity.
And empathy.
We have a chance to go back to what makes humans human. Think about our school systems. In the grade school and the middle school, we have standardized class, standardized curriculums. We all read the same books. We all take the same tests. We all get graded on the same metric. We're all averaged, right? We're so concerned about averages, we bring everything back to averages, right? And anybody who's an outlier, whether they're this far or there, anyone of outlier across many dimensions, they get averaged out, right? So it happens when we go to college. It happens at work. Everything's about becoming average. And we wipe out outliers. So I think what's important is instead of trying to wipe out curiosity and innovation and exploration and imagination, that we nurture it. We go back to the basics of what makes us human, right? Empathy is what really good empathy. We're good at imagination. We're good at imagining what the world could look like. We're very curious about things. We take things apart. I famously remember I was like 6 years old. I took my dad's radio apart and I put it back together and I showed him, hey, there's two parts you didn't need. Oops. Well, it didn't work very well, right? We need to nurture that. That's what makes us human. And we can use the chat GPTs of the world to help fuel that, to help us imagine what the world might look like. And that's where I think AI becomes our Yoda and helps us to be more effective.
I do want to ask you this because we did a tough episode last week about boys, gaming, and the allure of pornography and the dangers of AI in that area, right? Because a lot of parents are very concerned where that's all going. So do you want to talk to me about that side? I know it's not the positive side, but actually it's a scary side that I want to address.
Not an easy answer, obviously. Part of it has to do with rules and regulations and what's being done out there. And because this AI stuff is moving so quickly, the regulations are far behind. I would not expect that governments are going to help us very soon. You do in Europe, you have GDPR, which is much further along than most of the stuff we have here in the United States as far as protecting people's rights and their data and such. It's going to happen. There are bad players and there are even good people who do bad things. Right? It's different from the two of them, right? There are bad players and we're going to have to root them out. And the best way to root those bad players out is we're going to use AI to counterbalance AI. It's the only way we can do it. It moves too quickly. And it's pretty good. AI models can tell right away when something is fake. I won't go to the technology behind it, but it's really good at knowing what's fake and what's not. So we're going to have to use more AI to help. And something simple as like when you read something on Facebook, for example, love to have a meter that says a truth meter. This is true, right? This is not. Something as simple as that has an AI model that goes through and says, based on our AI models, we think this is a questionable statement, and put it out there, right? So there are things we need to do from a regulatory perspective. There are things we need to do from an organizational perspective, but from an individual parent perspective, we need to prepare our children and make them aware of the bad things that can happen, all the unintended consequences. It's only going to be an issue if they're not prepared. If they know that there's going to be fakes out there of them being nude, right? And that's, you know what? It's going to happen. Be prepared for it. Let it go, right? Report it, but then move on. The bad stuff is going to happen. If we let AI become, and in fact, let anything digital become too much part of our life, that's when we're vulnerable. The reality TV craze kills me. And my daughter went through this phase. And, that stuff's not real. The reality TV shows are all set up, right? The people it was all fake. And she thought it was real. And she couldn't accept the fact in my conversations that this is not real. They're acting, they're putting on a show. So I think as parents, we're going to have to make sure we prepare our students, our children for these conversations. We have to be prepared for hard conversations, that they're going to ignore us. And it's not unusual, right? A 14-year-old, a 15-year-old, they're going to ignore us, right? But remember, we're not their best friend.
That's right.
We're their parents.
Yes, I say that all the time. Yeah.
Yep. So we need to make sure that we are having those kind of conversations as their parents, because they're going to have lots of other best friends. They're never going to have other parents.
And also, it's not one big conversation. It's like, the birds and the bees conversation. It's never just one big conversation about AI or sex or sextortion. It is a constant thing. And we talk a lot on this podcast about the lines of communication. Keep connection going in very small ways. Sit and eat together, chat together. When you get the opportunities, raise these conversations so you're involved with your kids and you haven't sort of just let them loose on the internet on their own. I think it's very important.
Children are probably going to know, after a certain age, they're going to know a lot more than you about AI. You need to be aware of this. But you know a lot more about the world than they do. And these are all not new things. They're just amplified in a way that we all can't imagine. And that's also parents don't need to be afraid of AI or not knowing, in the sense these are all things that we went through, but as I said, at a speed and amplification that we all personally can't. I can't imagine. I think most can't. And if I can just turn to something that I'm very worried and passionate about, is these AI friends, AI chatbot companions, all of this, because this is something that I see a huge mental health problem coming, because they're getting more and more sophisticated, especially children do not understand, a lot of them, and also adults don't understand, that they're just machines that are very good at mimicking humans and mimicking human behavior. And I would like to have your opinion on that, Bill, because what can parents do, and what is it like? What can AI can and can't do? How can they help their children understand what that really is that they're communicating with?
You both hit on something that I think gets back to my point about, I think we're going to have to become more human. I think parent-children conversations are going to have to increase. You mentioned it's not a one-time, I'm going to teach about their birds and bees, and then, you're going to find a Playboy somewhere and learn about it somewhere else, right? This, more than ever, parents need to be involved in our children's life. We can't just turn on the Flintstones and let them watch TV or whatever, Bluey or Barney the Dinosaur, right? We need to make certain that we're involved in their life. There was a time when those shows were they weren't threatening. Fred Flintstone wasn't teaching anything bad. Now I have a chance where, these chat bots combined with the ability for them to create such real looking content to be very malicious. It can be very bad. And something we've been kind of hovering around, something that's been around forever, is this idea of bullying. And this chatbots and everything we're doing can be used to amplify, as you said, Ange, can amplify the bullying that's been around forever. I was bullied. I think everybody at one time or another has been bullied in their life. It's just the way it goes. And so as parents, we need to make certain we sit down, have dinner as a family, talk about what you did today. Hey, what'd you learn? I saw you were playing on the computer today. What happened today that sort of surprised you? What happened that concerns you? What did you learn new? Have those open sort of conversations. The inactive parent age has to be over. We have to be much more active. Now, we can't rely on our teachers alone. Teachers are powerful. They're the one savior of our society, I believe, that they can help amplify the concerns we have. But as a parent, we can't abdicate our responsibilities to teachers, right? We need to step up.
That is a very powerful message, isn't it, Ange?
Yeah, it is. I think also empowering for parents.
Yeah.
We often talk about the negative, and I always love talking to Bill because you turn it around into the positive, into a we can do it kind of thing. And just talking, can make so much, especially with this AI. It's just a machine. It's a very intelligent people behind the machine that are teaching it to do all sorts of stuff, but it's a machine. And we as humans can be more powerful. We have to believe it, as you say, be more human.
I like that.
Be more like Socrates, baby. More like Socrates.
I love the fact that it's a positive spin. It's talking to our kids. It's listening to them. It's connecting in the real world with them. And I'm just launching a summer sort of screen-free change that's coming soon. Very small things that we can do, not big, important, scary stuff. It is the sitting and eating together. It is playing on the floor or in the garden with quick cricket or whatever sport you do, because that's when you connect. And it's driving your teenager to football practice, which I used to do with my son when he was young. And I thought, oh my God, this is such a long journey and it's so boring. Actually, it was really great. I wasn't looking at him. I was driving. We had these deep and meaningful conversations. Sometimes we didn't. Sometimes we talked about football. Sometimes we talked about school. Sometimes we just listened to the radio. But we were connecting. So I'm always looking at simple, sort of small and silly, it sounds like, but ways to connect. Because in the real world, then we are then, preparing them. The whole point is preparing them for what's coming, not running away from it.
This is a great conversation. I'm loving this. I was thinking about what you're saying about these conversations. is not just asking and listening and having a conversation that parents need to step up and own, but we have a chance to even go further, and I think to nurture curiosity. Like, hey, we're driving to the football game, right? What would you do differently to make it easier for us to get to the football game? Like we're in an airplane, right? Trying to get out of an airplane. Like some of my children, how would you design this plane in a way that make it easier to get off? What would you think about? Movable chairs and use that as an opportunity to sort of start nurturing that natural curiosity and imagination. What would you do different? As parents, asking some very simple but fundamental questions that helps to, again, nurture that, but also shows them how they're in control of their own imagination.
That's exciting when you talk of it like that, though, isn't it?
My mom did that. We would do dishes and she'd hand me some utensil or something. She goes, do something with this. And so, no, it's a microphone or it's a comb or it's, right? And so those are small bonding moments where you take an opportunity where we talk and listen. And I got my talk about the birds and bees over that period too. That's a chance to nurture and build that relationship and to help to nurture that curiosity that's in every one of not just our children, but it's in every one of us. Yeah, society has tried to beat us out of it and our jobs try to beat us out of it. But it's inside us, this idea to be curious about how does something work? How do we do something better? What can we do? It's in all of us. And if we can use AI to unleash that tribal knowledge inside of each of us and learn how to blend it, there is no problem that we can't address as a society.
Which is exciting for all sorts of health things and medicine and eco-friendly opportunities. So are you working together in some way on some resources, Angie?
Yeah, I have this workshop that I've spoken about. Yeah, so because I said I'm not an AI expert in the sense I'm a passionate parent, and I rely on people like Bill very much to have this complex knowledge that I kind of trickle down to the everyday masses. And so Bill has been very kind to help me. He always advises me on the data girl work, but we have this workshop, AI for Parents, an AI guide for parents, really to talk them through the most important aspects of AI that can help them guide the parents. So I'm doing the main work, but I have the quality control behind the workshop, which is most important probably, is from Bill.
Yeah, and then people know it's robust, Angie, and it is exceptional and it is fantastic. So where can people find it?
Well, they can find on my webpage, datagirlandfriends.com with slashes between the words. There's been great feedback, and I'm really thankful to be able to do that, and thankful for Bill, because my original inspiration was an article that you wrote, Bill, remember, trying to help kids with safety. I was like, wow, it'd be great to have a video behind that.
Wow. And then it just took from there.
Yeah.
It's been a marvelous collaboration, because whether Ange knows this or not, I've learned more from her than she's learned from me. She brings different perspectives. She brings a level of energy, of freshness. It's from different perspectives that we learn, and how Ange sees these problems are not naturally ways that I see them. And so putting on my Socrates hat and having conversation with her helps me to learn, understand, and grow. So I appreciate the opportunity to be able to grow with you, Ange.
Thank you.
But that's what it's all about, actually. This podcast, which we're coming to the end of chatting to you now, Bill, but that's what it's all about. Coming together. We're all navigating the digital jungle. Nobody has all the answers, but let's be curious, let's be careful, and let's get excited about what can happen next.
I'm going to end with a couple of comments. When I work with customers and clients, also with students, number one, all ideas are worthy of consideration. Stop and think about the power of that phrase. That we all have ideas. Don't pre-qualify and judge yourself out. There is this tribal knowledge inside of each and every one of us. We have these ideas inside of us. So the first step is to make sure we make it a safe space where people can share ideas. All ideas are worthy of consideration. Point number one. Point number two, if you don't have enough might moments, you'll never have any breakthrough moments. And so when you start leveraging this ideation, this ability that all ideas are worthy of consideration, which, by the way, doesn't mean all ideas are good. Most ideas aren't good. Most of them are really crappy. But if somebody proposes a half-baked idea, so you let students ideate, and one student has kind of a half-baked idea, and some other students kind of a half-baked idea, It's like, wait a second, you start bringing these together, you start synergizing. We got something. If you don't have enough might moments, you'll never have any breakthrough moments.
Absolutely fantastic. Well, we could talk to you all afternoon, but we've got to let you go. And I'm so grateful for your enthusiasm, for your energy, and for your time today. I could talk to you all day. Thank you so much, Bill. Where can people find more about you if they want to look? Just put your name in. We'll put all the stuff into show notes. But is there anywhere you want people to direct them to?
Yeah. Come visit me on LinkedIn.
Okay.
I'm on LinkedIn. Ange and I both have marvelous conversation. I really like LinkedIn. I've got a circle of friends and collaborators who we all think alike, and we have marvelous conversations, and we don't always agree. That's where
great.
It's fun.
That's where the learning comes. I love that.
Amen, sister. Right. When you don't agree and you say, okay, well, what's your rationale? What did I miss? Right. And you start realizing that, I can blend my way of thinking a little bit this way. I can add that, and I can take 1 + 1 = 3 and 1 + 1 = 7 and 4. I can start synergizing, right? Don't compromise, synergize.
Today's episode of Navigating the Digital Jungle is brought to you in collaboration with World Digital Detox Day, an international movement dedicated to reclaiming our lives from the overwhelming grip of technology. So, are you feeling overwhelmed by screens and technology? Take a break and join millions of people around the world on World Digital Detox Day, because it's the perfect opportunity to unplug, unwind, and reconnect with the world around you for your mental health and your family and children's well-being. Join this important movement with over 7.5 million people worldwide and visit worlddigitaldetoxday.com to learn more about becoming involved with the world's largest digital well-being initiative. Start your digital detox journey today to better mental health and well-being for your whole family. So let's look at some resources for parents. Let's share some really good ones, books, websites, organizations to help you as parents understand and manage AI technology. Now, as we know, we've talked a lot, and I always advocate, and that's why my dear friend is here today, datagirlandfriends.com really is the place to go to find out all about that. But I also recommend Common Sense Media. They provide excellent reviews and advice on tech and media for kids, and their AI initiative, Understanding the Impact of AI on Our Kids, is a really great place to start. Then there's the Family Online Safety Institute, that they offer tips and tools for online safety. And there's a really great book that they recommend there called The Big Nine by Amy Webb and Artificial Intelligence. It's a guide for thinking humans, and I really think it gives a good insight into all of those topics. So we'll put all of that into the show notes.
Educate yourself and your children. So learn together. Spend some time each day with your children exploring basic concepts of AI through age-appropriate resources. I've talked to you all before about narrating your phone use. Explain to your kids what you're doing on your phone. Address misconceptions. Sometimes I think kids, they're going to think that parents are always on their phones, but our phones, we use them for so much now. Online banking, groceries, checking the schedule for football practice. And I always talk around my children about what I'm up to. If I was doing the weekly shop, I might say, I'm busy. I'm just on my phone doing this. Do we need anything for your lunch boxes? I'll add it to the order. It's bringing that technology conversation, a huge part of our everyday lives, into conversation with our children. And we could do this with AI too. We don't want to make it scary or not relevant or keep it hidden away. Let's be real life examples. I was talking to my mum and she said, I don't know anything about AI. I don't use it. And funnily enough, we were in the car using Google Maps. It was that talking point to say, well, it's planned our route, it's estimated timings, it's updating, and we've talked about AI being there in our everyday lives. With our kids, Netflix, for example, is a streaming service that uses AI to determine which shows are going to grab their attention. You can explain to the children sort of what the technology is behind that. Or on Amazon, where things are recommended again, sort of narrating your phone use. They might have loved a book. My son loves Audible, so we regularly will snuggle down and have a look at the recommended section in Audible. It's an opportunity to discuss. How did it know that you would like this book, do you think? What was the process? So I really do think we can bring kids into the conversation quite early, and then that will also lead to the open and honest conversations about some of the other sides of AI that we can be more worried about. If they have a basic understanding, they're going to be in a better position to go into those conversations about concerns with AI and risks.
Listener questions.
So as always, we're also going to have a look at the listener questions, which we're very thankful to get. We've received some fantastic questions from our listeners. Always keep sending them in, please. So let's just dive in. Today, we want to talk about the question, how can I teach my child to think critically about AI and technology? I think that Bill really dove into that quite a bit, but I just want to summarize a little bit. What's really important is self-confidence as parents to understand and believe that you do not have to be an expert to help with AI and technology. Your expertise is your life experience and your love as a parent. So just curiosity, awareness will go a long way. And critical thinking, there were exercises that Bill mentioned, but also they're excellent just exercise books. I personally, you guys were talking about your parents, how you grew up. One of the things I remember most that I loved was my mom would always do these critical thinking exercises with us. And I just found it incredibly fun. And they're books. You can buy them for the different age groups. Critical thinking exercises. I do recommend that because in general, you don't need to have AI and technology specific critical thinking. You have to question everything that is given to you and think about who's behind it and what's behind it. And this can come from all sorts of different directions. Just try everything to increase awareness, increase your questioning Socrates, as Bill pointed out, and always obviously stay as much as possible in real world examples. What they experience on a daily basis, what they see will help them really drive it home.
Do you know what I was thinking? We'll have to create a poster where kids can download it off our website and colour it in. Just you can stick it on the fridge then and it says, what are they persuading you to do? You know, or thinking.
Yeah, exactly. And I heard a social psychologist say this, and I was like, yes, that we always say we're an information-based society, but actually we're a persuasion-based society now. He said it, and I was like, oh yeah, we actually are, because we're just being persuaded from all sorts of different directions. And if you just think that, then you'll be aware of how much you're being persuaded.
I know, and how much data they're getting from you. Because I remember looking, and this is a long time ago, I suppose. I was very naive then. You know, I was looking up for a cardigan that was I was going to an outfit. I thought, oh, I'll get a lovely cardigan. And then I couldn't understand that every time I was on Facebook, it would be showing me all these different types of cardigans. So that is an example of, oh, right, let's harvest that and let's create some more persuasion to get you to buy more stuff. So I think that's the takeaway. The big takeaway for me today is around, you know, talking to your kids. We were talking a lot about connecting, talking with them, sitting, eating with them, all these simple things. So we stay connected as a parent and we just don't let them sit in their bedrooms going into all sorts of places on their smartphones. We're not, you know, anti-tech, we're pro-tech, but we are trying to get you all more confident, particularly around AI.
Now for some top tips.
It's time for our weekly quick tips for parents. Now, this is where we get practical. We've given you loads, I hope, of food for thought. But, you know, we're going to be trying to help you navigate this AI-driven world effectively. So, Angeline, what is your advice? And again, tell people where they can go and watch your wonderful videos.
Okay, well, my advice is a game that I would say I invented. It's called I Spy AI.
I love it.
There's a video.
Love it.
There's a video about it, and there's also an article explaining how to play. It's pretty simple. So, you know, we all know the game I Spy AI. So you can say, for example, I spy something that helps me know what show to watch or something. And then the person will say, oh, that's Netflix or Disney. I spy something that is going to help me know which route to drive. Oh, that's the car. So something like that really helps awareness for where AI is. And if you don't know, you can actually just go onto the internet, like, where is AI? And it will tell you. You don't have to recognize it yourself.
You have just created the next game, taking it into the 21st century. It is I Spy AI. What an amazing thing. You heard it here, folks, first. So, Tara, what's your advice around AI and education?
Well, building on a lot of the conversations, my advice to parents is you've got to educate yourself first. I'm still learning. It's not my area of expertise. It's actually very hard to be an expert in AI because it's evolving, it's new, it's changing all the time. So have a little look round, follow a few blogs, keep listening to the podcast, take those little nuggets, don't need to know it all, have a read, do fact check, and then you can share the conversation with your kids. So once again, it's on us parents, but it's not scary. We just need to read up on it a little bit and keep learning.
So before we finish up, tell us, Angie, you've told us where we can find out more about you, but what are you actually working on at the moment, this week and last week, perhaps?
Oh, well, I'm really preparing for the new school year. I really want to get into as many schools as possible, get these conversations going, also working with fantastic people like obviously you, Sue, and there's also John Cavanaugh from the Plunk Foundation that's really passionate about these topics, and there's so many people. So just preparing for the school year and to get these conversations going, get our parents and children protected and aware.
Absolutely. So we're looking forward to getting prepared. We haven't broken up yet. If you're listening to this currently, it's sort of summer here in the UK. But actually, whenever you listen to this episode or whenever you listen to the series, I hope you're going to learn and get loads more ideas and practical takeaways from it. So Tara, where can people find out more about what you're up to and more about you?
So I have a company called FOMO Tech. That's my website where you can keep up to date with all the work that I'm doing. So FOMO.tech, you can keep in touch with all the work I'm doing there.
Navigating the Digital Jungle with Sue Atkins and Friends.
So thank you, everyone, for tuning in to Navigating the Digital Jungle with Sue Atkins and Friends. I hope you found our discussion insightful and empowering as you navigate the challenges of the digital world. Now, if you've enjoyed our regular episodes, you're going to love my exclusive bonus content. You can subscribe to it. You'll gain access to extended interviews, behind-the-scenes insights, and more sorts of guides that I write in more detail. So you'll get expert tips, advice, and special guests, etc. So subscribe and join us. And you can go to navigatingthedigitalJungle.com to find out more all about us. So that's it for today. We really hope you feel more confident about navigating the AI digital jungle as a parent. Remember, stay informed, engaged. It's all key to making the most of these technologies while protecting and nurturing your children. So until next time, stay safe and keep exploring.
Yeah, jungle out there.